And this morning, the chief executives of 9 drug companies pledged not to seek regulatory approval before the safety and efficacy of their experimental coronavirus vaccines has been established in phase 3 clinical trials. According to the Washington Post, in an extraordinary effort to bolster public faith in a vaccine amid President Trump's public rush to introduce a vaccine before Election Day, the joint statement reads in part, "We believe this pledge will help ensure public confidence in the rigorous scientific and regulatory process by which COVID-19 vaccines are evaluated and may ultimately be approved." The statement also included a vow that the companies would only submit for approval or emergency use authorization after demonstrating safety and efficacy through a phase 3 clinical study that is designed and conducted to meet requirements of expert regulatory authorities such as the FDA. Joining us now, Morning Joe Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Dave Campbell and Dean of the Brown University School of Public Health, Dr. Ashish Shah. Dr. Shah, I'll start with you and ask you where we stand with the coronavirus. I think the day after Labor Day, people are going back to school. It's sort of the year restarts in a way. And just anecdotally, I've noticed people really loosening their own personal restrictions on the virus. Is this something we can look at as behind us or still more coming?
Yeah, good morning, Mika, and thanks for having me on. Unfortunately, it is not behind us, as much as we'd like all to sort of put it behind us and move on with our lives. And when I look at where we are today, we went into Memorial Day with about 20,000 cases a day. And then, of course, we saw a huge spike over the summer. We entered Labor Day with about 40,000 cases a day, so about twice as high as where we were on Memorial Day. And we're entering the fall, kids coming back, college students coming back. And people spending more time indoors. So I am worried. I'm worried about where we are, and I'm certainly worried about any sense people have that this is all behind us.
Dr. Dave, fascinating statement by the top pharmaceutical companies in America who appear to be pushing back against the president and the head of the FDA, who have been talking about shortcuts, not going through the third phase of these clinical trials. And trying to rush a vaccine for Election Day. And again, the President of the United States just said that. We've had Jonathan Lemire saying for months that the White House has been obsessed with a vaccine as their October surprise. It looks now like actually the pharmaceutical companies may be putting the brakes on and saying, wait a second, we're going to make these vaccines go through the regulatory process to make sure they're safe before we start giving them to millions of people.
In large part, Joe, that's correct. But my interpretation of these statements from the top companies that are making the vaccines is perhaps a little different and a little more thoughtful about what they are saying. They're telling us that they are going to wait until they have what they believe is scientific clinical proof of the safety and efficacy. I don't see them telling us they're going to wait till the end of a phase 3 clinical trial. That's a long way off. So they're trying to comfort a skittish country where 2/3 of Americans in the USA Today poll just came out and told us that those 2/3 of Americans would not take a vaccine when it first comes out. So as we see these number of large companies telling us that they are going to stick to the science, they're going to stick to the idea of thinking of the community first rather than any political pressures, it's very comforting. But I think that the idea of seeing a vaccine, even end of year into next year, I'm confident that they're telling us we may do that, but that we are going to stick to the science first.
Dr. Shah, we've heard from the beginning of this back in February and March when it really grabbed everyone's attention that there would be a second wave, that it might come back in the fall, that it might come back in the winter and correspond with flu season and be perhaps even worse than the first wave. We're hearing that again now as we turn out of summer after Labor Day, some schools opening up again, some people trying to get back to some semblance of normal life. The IMHE just came out with a huge projection of potential deaths by the end of the year. What interventions do you see as a public health expert that might blunt that and not maybe stop a second wave, but make it better than so many of these projections are showing?
Yeah, so the good news, Willie, is we know so much more than we did back in March, right? And we know how the virus spreads. We have a lot more information about how to curtail it, and we've gotten better at treating it. So we are better armed going into the fall. The key things that we need to do, we know them, right? Avoid large indoor gatherings. Well, that's going to get harder as it gets colder, but I still think in many, many places, things like bars and indoor dining is going to have to be really limited. And schools and colleges, or certainly, grade schools, are going to have to get prioritized if we're going to really do this. It turns out that, as we've been saying since March, if we have really excellent surveillance testing, a lot of private schools have gone out and bought surveillance testing so they can bring their kids back in. I want public schools to be able to do the same thing. And then the third, but certainly not least, is everybody wearing masks. If we do those things, are we going to completely avoid the second wave? Maybe not. But could we make it much better? Can we avoid 400,000 deaths, as IHME is suggesting? Absolutely. It's really up to us, and the tools are in front of us.
Yeah, and yet you have the President of the United States mocking a reporter yesterday who wouldn't take off his masks.
All right. Drs. Dave Campbell and Ashish Shah, thank you both very much for being on the show this morning.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.